Alright, before I get to the point of this video, I'm just going to explain where my mindset was when I decided to make it. I am not at the age where I can run for presidency, but if I did, this would be how I would do it. So if it comes across like, I have power to do these things, don't think I do, because I don't. But if I did, this is what I would do. So I will start as if I was running a campaign. So, and if I look down, it's because I had to take notes. I had to get my thoughts organized. So this is what I came up with. The first thing that came to my mind of what my position would be on something is gun control. My official stance on gun control at this point in time is to normalize arms. I understand if that statement brings up angst. My ultimate vision is to live in a society in which the word gun and the word control do not hold weight in the way they do now. I believe the best way to take their power is to stop fearing them. There's a person sitting in their room at this moment having homicidal or suicidal tendencies or ideations. And I acknowledge that the best way for this person to achieve those ideations is to have arms accessible. So you may ask, how does normalizing arms help solve this issue? When I was that person, it would have been easy to obtain a weapon and use it however I desired. Fortunately, I was in a position where I could ask for help and be heard. Had I not, though, there's only one other situation that could have held me back, and that would have been knowing that if I walked out that door gun in hand with the intent to harm someone, that every person out there had the ability to protect themselves. Having done that would be a surefire suicide. I acknowledge that if someone was truly intent on committing suicide, that would happen, and death in all forms is devastating, which is why we need to figure out the mental health crisis. How do I plan to implement this course of action? Guns would be as normal and mundane as cars. Both have the potential to harm. Both are tools that take a great amount of time and research and pure artistry to create. Both should be treated with respect and earned. Children will in this environment speak of guns and possibly desire them such as they do cars. They will just as likely get behind the trigger to fire that tool as they would get behind the wheel of a car and drive in this environment. There will be checks and balances put into place. Examples, an arms education program is put into place. At an appropriate age, I think 16, for 2 years they will take courses and earn their right to carry arms, just like a driver's license. Then, if they can, they have the right to purchase their own firearm at the age of 18, that agreed upon age of adulthood. After that, it is your property. It is your responsibility. You will learn that there are consequences to your actions, that life is valuable, and to be safe and responsible. These courses will be available to anyone seeking arms. If taking the course after the age of 18, it will be a 6-month course before you can purchase your own firearm. You will be expected to lock your arms under safe and key. You lock your car door and you keep the keys out of reach of children. You will be expected to do the same with your arms. If you do not, there will not be consequences forced upon you, but that does not mean you will avoid consequences of someone's inevitable death being on your hands. We all need to acknowledge that there are consequences to our actions. 100% transparency. With the normalization being enacted, I myself would not take the courses, nor do I intend to obtain or utilize arms in any way. I do have the right to defend myself, but I choose to trust you not to harm me. I do not desire taking life for any reason, so I will not put myself in this position to possibly have to make that decision one day. I would appreciate if you do not end my life, or any others. My position on the border wall. I am against having a permanent boundary between any two entities. But I understand the importance of boundaries. Here's my plan to solve this issue. We need to bring our troops home, and we need to do it now. When I think of our military, I see them as the ace of spades. If you play spades, you know what I'm saying. That is the most important card that you have. We need to stop using them to gain power for selfish interests. They are our protectors, and I intend to utilize them as such. They will guard our boundaries and protect our interests. I trust them with this responsibility because they understand the value of human life, and it is deep-seated in them to protect their homes. They do belong here. Once the world is right, we will allow them to come, respect, experience what it is that our land has to offer. Until then, we need time to get right. We need understanding, and if you would stop abusing our kindness, we would unlock the door. For those of you listening on the other side, it is not that we do not love you. It is not that we never want to see you. But your actions are causing us harm, and we expect our boundaries to be respected. It is like a child trying to wake you up in the morning. First, they waltz right in. They say hi. The next day you close your door. They open it. They say hi. The next day you lock your door. They knock and knock. The next day you sleep with headphones in. Now, they need you. You can't hear them. By their actions, your boundaries became harder to break through. I'm telling you that your actions are causing us to harden our boundaries, literally and figuratively. Give us the time to wake up, and eventually we'll open the door. Please be patient. My position on the death sentence. I plan to make my views on life and death a very clear line at the end of this. I am against taking life in any shape, form, or fashion. Our emotions may scream they deserve it. Let me explain why they don't. Firstly, in what way can we justify ending the life of anything? It is a twisted sense of power, and we twist justice in order to fit this into our unacceptable ideology. This kid is always asking me, can I kill it? Can I kill it? I never tell him no. Instead, I ask why. He usually responds with, because it might bite me. I tell him that I do not find it a good enough reason to kill something for what it might do. I do not stop him or intervene in a physical way. I just express that it will make my heart hurt if he kills it. I don't believe it is necessary, but ultimately it is your decision. Less and less he kills things, and every time I do feel sad that that was his decision. I do not believe he has the right to kill that spider just because he can. It is an abuse of perceived power. I understand that it stems from fear, which is why we talk to take away that angst. I will never kill someone for what they may do, and I will never kill someone for what they have done. That is a permanent boundary that I am not willing to commit to. My views on abortion. I will never say whether something should or shouldn't be legal. That is not a power I desire, and enforcing my ideologies on you in any way is unacceptable. I do ask that you give me time to explain my beliefs on the matter. I will start by saying I believe it is a negative action. Nothing about it makes me feel positive, and it is never anything I desire myself to experience. I understand the fears that come along with bringing a child into the world. It is pretty damaged right now. That is why I choose not to procreate at the moment. But with that decision, I am responsible for my actions. I know if I had sex, there is a possibility of conceiving. Therefore, I do not take part in that activity. I am not telling you to be abstinent. I am just asking that you accept the responsibility that comes along with that action. It feels so good because what comes with it is responsibility. Nothing worth having comes for free. If you cannot accept that you do not deserve to take part. Will I enforce this upon you? No. But all I ask is if you make the decision to end life, do not expect a life consequence free. You are free from teaching now, yes, but you are not free from people's perceptions of you. It does not make it justified, but we all have the right to our emotions. I go back to killing something for what might happen. I am against it. What I hope to do to end abortion legitimately is make the world a better place, where you're not so afraid of the mights and the maybes. Let's take away that potential mother's angst, and instead show that there is beauty in this world worth experiencing. Let's not take that opportunity away from anything. So my official stance is it's neither legal or illegal. You have the right to make your own decisions, but if you choose to use that freedom to harm someone else, that is incredibly heartbreaking. I cannot pretend like it's not. Now my views on the justice system. It is broken and beyond the point of fixing with what we have right now. We have to destroy it and build back up. Here is what I recommend. All nonviolent prisoners will be released after a 90-day intensive rehab treatment program that will be offered to every single prison. After completion and appropriate actions completed, they will be granted their release. There will be no further consequences beyond this point for the actions committed in the past. No probation or fines. They are being offered a second chance and are asked not to abuse it. Again, there are consequences to your actions. Knowledge is power, hence the program. For the violent offenders, we will organize a committee which finds the most effective way to rehabilitate the release. They will be offered to and utilized by professionals. They will not be manipulated, and our goal is to get these people right. This has to happen. You may ask, why do we need to release all prisoners? First, I have to ask you a question. If there was one man who was guilty, but the only way to confine him was to also lock up 2 innocent people, would that be a fair trade? I hope that your answer would be no, and then I would respond with, that is exactly what is happening. First, we cannot deny that there are innocent people locked up. I am not comfortable with that in the slightest regard. Also, my motivations for betterment do not end with my homeland. If we focus our attention on North Korea, for example, we are From when we are mostly aware of the fact that there are countless innocents locked up for someone else's ideas of a perceived wrongdoing, like speaking. We as a democracy believe in the freedom of speech, so we say to their leader, you shouldn't be doing that. All he has to do is hand us a mirror, and in the background we see our people behind bars. We have lost all moral grounds to intervene. That is unacceptable. We will fix ourselves and then say, guy, this is not acceptable. You need to take steps towards releasing your prisoners. We would offer aid and a helping hand, not judgment and aggression. We as America will be that shining light once again, but we have got to step out of our own ways. The selfish ideologies that we have got need to subside. My views on gay marriage. I don't care. My views on transgenderism. Again, I do not care what adults do. I care, but I will never intervene. The only time I find direct intervention to be necessary is if the powerful are abusing the innocent. If someone cannot protect themselves, they should hope that someone stronger will speak for them. I say this because I leave the kids out of it. Leave them out of it. Before the age of 18, all that they need to do is learn and experience. No decisions need to be made, and you as the adult will not make their decisions for them, especially if it impacts them after the age of 18. Allowing them to talk to someone is great because we have to accept that we as the individual do not know everything. Let others help. I am not saying do not discuss these things with your children. The pursuit of knowledge is the utmost important endeavor. I would never deny you that right to teach and their right to learn. Hands-on demonstrations are off the table. That is an abuse of power and not your right. Use some discretion and teach the kids values. If you don't know where to start, I always start with integrity, boundaries, respect, and community service. Give them a foundation, not an identity. Also, can we get back to reading books that are not about sex? Next, police brutality. We have got to demilitarize. I can't even say that word. We cannot have our police be an army. I understand how that evolution took place. Boundaries kept getting crossed, so we kept enforcing our boundaries to the point of active violence on both sides. Again, I do not appreciate permanent boundaries between any two entities. The public and the police have got to start tearing down these boundaries. One side has to trust that the other will not cause it harm. If they put down that shield, the other side has to have enough respect not to harm that person. The police are needed at this point in time because we cannot trust that someone will not cause harm. The police are a boundary for the meek who are asking for help. I feel they have forgotten that they are the protectors, not the aggressors. You are your family's ace of spades, and you belong home protecting your people. I do believe we as a people can get to the point where we can lay down arms instead work for a greater purpose. I feel like we have lost our sense of purpose. In order to start breaking down these boundaries, we will have to do things that appear scary at first, but it will be okay. First, we have got to stop enforcing our will upon others. We have to look at these laws and do a cleansing. Get back to the basics. If it does not cause involuntary harm to another person, then it is not illegal. Do not overthink that. Drugs are not legal or illegal. It is your decision. Drugs are not. It is your decision. It is a voluntary harm to yourself. Who am I to stop you? It is the constrictions that we are putting on these things that are creating the actual harm. That done to someone who did not consent. The drug trade is a violent place because anything done in secrecy breeds negative actions. The people getting shot over drugs, the trafficking is all a huge mess, and we have to take radical action by simply not acting. You do not have to go into a dark alley anymore. Brandon can meet you to get your fix in a public space. Hell, go to the store. Live your life. Here are the checks and balances. If you are under the age of 18, you do not have the right to partake in drug use of any kind, and you teaching them is fine, but if you hands-on teach these kids, expect consequences. What I mean by that is if you want to teach them the aggressions that come along with drinking alcohol or using drugs, cool. But if you get drunk and high and lay hands on them, then expect somebody to intervene. It is unacceptable. That is not how you teach your kids. Without a question being asked, I feel there is something that needs to be addressed almost immediately after making that statement. We have got to get our help to an acceptable standard. We have made strides in actual healing process itself. That hardest part is simply the accessibility. It is too expensive and too exclusive. I understand you should get rewarded for your trade. I just hope we get to the point where money isn't the ultimate reward. This exclusivity is stigmatizing mental and emotional health. The stories that get told about these places come from a handful of experiences. I am talking to a specific group of people at this very moment. If you need help, please ask for it. If you have the desire to harm yourself or somebody else, say something. Give someone the opportunity to help you. Change your course before that permanent boundary gets put into place. I know we have been taught that being honest has consequences sometimes. So find someone to trust and just say, hey, I'm feeling a little homicidal, feeling kind of suicidal. I thought if I did that, I'd get locked up. And I did. Hear me out why I am grateful for that. Intent of committing a crime in itself is not a crime. I got put under lock and key, yes, but honestly, I could have left whenever I wanted, unless I still made it obvious that I had the intent to harm. I went for 2 weeks, and that time I have nothing to be ashamed of. I asked for help and utilized it to the highest extent. I took the tools offered to me and utilized them in my life. I could not have learned these tools without someone else teaching me. That is all the hospitals really do. Yes, it took me 4 2-week visits, but without that intervention, I'd be dead, or worse, I would have harmed somebody else. So you should appreciate that institution and encourage the idea that it is okay to not be okay. But put in some work. So I approve psychiatric institutions and keep kicking ass because you saved my life with your patience and expert abilities and listening and suggesting skills. Now, let's please make this an affordable option for anyone. Since we're talking about money, my view on money and politics. This is a simple one. There are 2 things that I despise in this world, and that is money, and that is politics. I don't want them working together. It's a bad idea. That simple. That is all I can think about at this moment. I do have a proposal or deal, though. This whole time I spoke of consequences, never really specifying what the consequences would look like. Keeping it simple, if you harm someone, you will be separated from society. You have forfeited your right to make unsupervised decisions. You have no integrity, therefore why should you be trusted? If your crime causes emotional harm, then the 90-day program will be mandatory. You will acknowledge your wrongdoings and make amends. If you break into someone's home and steal their property, you have committed an action that is unacceptable and will be treated as such. You will have the opportunity to right your wrongs. Words causing emotional angst will never be policed. Your actions are what determine consequences, not your beliefs. If your crime is causing direct harm to another, you will be put into rehab and released only on the professional opinion of someone who feels comfortable taking the action to release you. If you do not calm down, you will remain until you do. Rape, murder, assault are all unacceptable. I wish we could live in a world where we can trust you not to harm and never have to enforce acceptable norms upon you. That being said, if I witnessed you hitting a child, I will step in. If the world witnesses you abusing the innocent, expect intervention. You will answer to your motives, and if you are content with your actions, you are more than welcome to sit under lock and key until you sincerely look at yourself. All I expect is stop causing pain. I, in turn, do not want to take your freedom, so please stop giving us reasons to. Now, outside of consequences, I do strongly believe in being rewarded for doing the right thing. How would I reward if I was put in the position to do so? I believe the ultimate reward is knowledge. If people could act civilized, the reward would be knowledge. I do not believe in hoarding knowledge, but it is an act derived from fear. Why would I tell you about the technological advances or discoveries when I cannot trust you to act right? If I believed you would use that knowledge to harm someone, of course I'd feel like it's best to not tell you what it is. I believe knowledge is a right. So let's earn some trust and get this information out to further our existence and quality thereof. Last thing before I finish my final statement. I do want to touch base on the whole being spied on thing. That is unacceptable, and we know this happens because someone was brave enough to tell us. Now, the police are not permitted to look through your windows to catch you in the act. They need reasonable suspicion. I believe it would work the same for leaders in the world. If I was put in the position, I would not dismantle the agency, rather I would utilize them to take care of a huge problem. They would not spy on you without probable cause. That probable cause would be something like uploading pornography that is obviously harming the innocent. If you upload that shit, they will work back and find your trifling ass. There will be consequences to your actions once again. They would be coming for you. My closing statement is this. All I envision for the future is a sense of serenity, calm, and contentedness. I am tired of all the unnecessary pain. I acknowledge that this pain happens because it gives someone a perceived sense of power. We have got to let go of power and accept what is. We strain for power out of fear. The more power I have, the less likely you can harm me. You grasping for that power is tearing apart humanity. And it is your personal responsibility to let that go. It will be okay. I acknowledge that I do not know everything. And I am open to accepting feedback for any statements I made. I would like to make my boundaries clear up front. If you are angered by something, I accept that. I am willing to discuss it further. But if you attempt to cause harm, I will not respond. Simply because with anger, there is no room for effective communication. It would be a waste of both of our time. A good way to approach me would be, hey, I don't agree with this because I feel like this. I will listen because I am sure there is something to learn from you. If you come at me with, you dumb bitch, you're wrong because of this, I will probably shut down because I am fallible and I don't like people telling me who or what I am. You have the right to say it. I have the right to not listen. Lastly, if my words threaten your perceived power to the point that you wish to silence me, I kindly ask that you do not. Ultimately, you will make your choices, and I accept that, but I trust you to just wait it out and see what happens. I want the best for you as well. I have no intent to harm anyone or gain power over any individual. I ask that you strive for the same intent. So, that would be some of my ideas for making the world a little less shitty. Do I have all the answers? Again, no. And I accept that I probably never will. But I'm ready to open a line of communication. So, am I old enough to run for presidency? No. From what I just said, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I don't know. That's kind of your opinion. This is how I feel at the moment, though. And I think it's totally possible. So.
Can you lay me down if it's